Okay, before we get started here on your quiz, what I like to do is a short little review over your work and power that we've talked about in the previous e-learning days. Okay, we'll start with work first, move into power, and then we'll get you started on your quiz. So again, what is work? Work is simply a measure of the force acting over a distance. To put that mathematically, work equals force times distance, or W equals F times D. Okay, so again, we know work is force times distance. What we need to be able to conclude is this: work is directly proportional to, number one, the amount of force applied, and number two, the amount of distance the object moves. So what does that mean for it to be directly proportional to the force applied and the distance moved? In other words, increasing the force and or distance will increase the amount of work being done on that object. Again, you can increase both, or you can increase just one. But increasing either of these will increase the amount of work done. We must also mention then this works the opposite way too. By decreasing the force or decreasing the distance, we will decrease the amount of work being done on an object. Now, one other thing I would like you to remember, and this is from your worksheet. Many of you weren't sure about this after I graded it, but please remember, no work is done on a stationary object. If you remember your problem about the 45 Newton lady sitting on the bench, since she is just sitting there, she is not doing anything. There is no work being done. Let me put it to you this way. If you push against the wall's not going to move, so you're not doing any work on the wall, even though you are applying a force. Okay, if you sit a book on your desk and the book is sitting stationary on your desk, even though the force of gravity is pulling down, there is no work being done on the book. So let's work a practice problem to review. You will have some problems on your worksheet, so make sure you pay attention to this. In this case, we're going to have a crane using a force of 5,200 newtons to lift a girder 25 meters. Again, you must look at your equation. I have it up there for you at the top. Work equals force times distance, or work equals F times D. We're just going to do some substitution now. We're going to take the 5,200 newtons and put that in for the F, and the 25 meters will replace the D. We have now set up our problem. We do the calculations with the calculator. We will get 1,300 newtons times meters, or Newton meters. What does a Newton meter equal to? A Newton meter is equal to our unit of work, which is called the joule, a capital J. Now, besides calculating work, don't forget you may be expected to calculate either force or distance as long as you know the other two values. If you're doing force, that's work divided by distance. You can check yourself by making sure that your units come out as newtons. In the case of distance, you will take the work and divide by the force. In this case, you should end up with meters. Again, you'll be working each of these problems, each type of problem, on your quiz. So again, this is why you will be needing a calculator and maybe some scrap paper. Now, let's move on to work. In order to understand work, you had to understand work force, because power is the rate at which we do that work. What does that mean? That means if we are doing a rate, we are doing something over a certain amount of time. So power is equal to work divided by time, or P equals W over T. Now, what does this equation mean? It means that power is directly proportional to the amount of force applied, but indirectly proportional to the amount of time that the force is applied. So again, what does that mean? How can we put that another way? Increasing the force will increase the power. They do the same thing. They are directly proportional. Okay, since time and power are indirectly proportional, increasing the amount of time will decrease the power. Again, something you need to remember when understanding how much power is being used. So again, we will just work a little practice problem here. John is going to row in a race. He's going to use 19.8 newtons to travel 200 meters. He's going to do it in 60 seconds. So we apply our equation, power equals W divided by T. Now remember, how do we calculate work? Work is force times distance. So we're simply going to plug in 19.8 newtons and the 200 meters. Multiply those together, and we will get 3,960 joules. We then divide that by the time of rowing, in this case 60 seconds, and you will get 66 watts. Okay, again, watts is the unit of measurement for power. Now, besides power, you might also be asked, and you will be on your quiz, asked to calculate the amount of work as long as you know power and time, or calculate the time as long as you know the work and the power. For calculating work, you're simply going to multiply power times time. This is going to cause our seconds to be canceled out. And again, you will end up with units of joules, which is the unit of work. In the case of time, you take the work and divide by the power. In this case, your joules should cancel out, leaving you with seconds, which is our unit of time. Again, if you would like, take a good look over your two worksheets that we did over work and power. Make sure you have a calculator handy. And then move on to your quiz. Good luck on that. I think it is worth 15 points. This is my way I'm going to be making sure you understand what we're doing. I don't see any big tests coming up before the end of the year, but we will be taking some quizzes. So again, good luck. Have a good day.